Hello then, and welcome to Happy Beyond Numbers, where we learn maths the easy way. I do hope you are doing well by God's grace. Now, in this video, we are still on plane geometry, and this time around, we are looking at the complementary and supplementary angles. So take your book and then your pen or pencils, and then we learn along. Without much ado, let's quickly go into it. Now, when we talk of addition of angles, whenever two angles are added, they form some special total, right? And then depending on the measure of the angle that has been formed, there are some specific names we give to them. Two of those names are what? Complementary and then supplementary angles. So let's look at what complementary angles are. So talking of complementary angles, then we say two angles whose sum is 90 degrees is what? A complementary. They are complementary angles, or we can say they are complements of one another, you see. So an example, if we take the angle 60 degrees and then 30 degrees, what is their sum? Their sum is what? 90 degrees. So we can say that these two angles are complementary angles, or 30 is a complement of 60, you see, or 60 is also a complement of 30. Okay, there are so many ways you can do it. Even 89 and then 1 are complement. So angle 89 degrees and then angle 1 degree. So far as if we add them, we are getting a sum of what? 90 degrees. Then they are complement of each other, or they are what? Complementary angles. Now, if you remember when we were in our previous video, when we were describing the various angles, we said an angle whose measure is what? 90 degree is what? A right angle. So this here is a right angle, you see. And if we are saying two angles are complementary, then it simply means, as we have said, if we sum them up, we should get what? 90 degrees. So this two here can form what? Complementary angle, you see. So it simply means that the measure of this angle here plus this are complementary. So most of the times, if we draw these two complementary angles well, then we would end up getting something like this, which is a right angle, you see. So that is it for complementary angles. We'll solve some questions on that. But before we do, let's look at what supplementary angles are. So talking of supplementary angles, then we say two angles whose sum is 180 degrees becomes what? A supplementary angles. A supplementary angle. So in that case, if we have the angle 90 degrees plus 90 degrees, they sum up to what? 180. Hence, we can say they are supplementary. You can take 110 and then 70. They also sum up to what? 180. Hence, they are supplementary angles. It doesn't matter. So far as these angles sum up to what? 180, irrespective of their initial measures, they are what? Supplementary angles. If you remember once again, we said supplementary, an angle on a straight line looks something like this, a very straight line, you see. So for supplementary angles, if I have one angle spanning this, let me use a straight line for that. So this being one angle, this also being another angle. So far as they will add up to give me a straight line, then we say they are supplementary angles. Now with that said, let's solve some questions. So our first question here says you have to find the complement of 25 degrees. Find the complement of what? 25 degrees. Now we know what complementary angles are, you see. So you start by saying for complementary angles, or let's just say, let's represent the other angle we want with a variable. So we say let the complement be any variable at all. So we let the complement be C. So if our complement is C, then we know that for complementary angles, their sum is what? 90 degrees. So let's write that down. So for complementary angles, the sum of the angles is 90 degrees. So now that we've been able to establish that fact, it is now an equation left for us to solve. So 25 plus C is equal to 90, making C the subject. It means our C is equal to the 90 degrees minus 25 degrees. And 90 minus 25 is then going to give us a 65 degrees. You see? So you say, therefore, the complement of 25 degrees is 65 degrees, and that is it. So with this method here, let's look at this also and try. We said we should find the supplement of 102 degrees. You see? So we can follow the same method. Write our solution, and we say we let the supplement or the supplementary angle be what? Any variable of your choice. So we let the supplement be S. Then for supplementary angle, this is the most important thing. So for supplementary angles, we know their sum is 180. So 102 degrees plus the S should give us what? 180 degrees. So then, making S the subject, we have our S, which is equal to 180 minus 102. Hence, our S is going to be 78 degrees. So you say, therefore, the supplement of 102 is what? 78 degrees. As simple as that. So we have this interesting question here, which says, if two angles are supplementary and one angle is 3 times the other, you have to find the angles, or what are the angles. Now this here is trying to test your understanding on algebra and also test your understanding on what? Angles. Let's see how we can go about this question over here. So our solution, we start by what? First introducing our variable. Okay, so they are saying there are two angles that are supplementary and one is 3 times the other. So let's just say, let one of the angles be any variable at all. So I'm going to say, let one of the angles be Z. With that said, the question says, one of the angle is 3 times the other. One is 3 times the other. So what this implies is that the other angle is going to be what? 3x. Sorry, 3z. 3z. You see? So it implies that the other angle is 3z. And now we were told they are complementary. So we have the two angles, this here and then this here. You see? So this implies that z plus 3z gives us what? Supplementary angle sum up to 180. So it gives us 180 degrees. Then all that is left is for us to solve for our variable. So z plus 3z, which gives us 4z is equal to what? 180 degrees. Making our z the subject, we have 180 degrees divided by 4. And 180 divided by 4 gives us a 45. So our z is equal to 45 degrees. But the question says, what are the angles? We have gotten z, and we said one of the angles should be z. So it implies that our angles, the z is 45, and then the other is 3z. So 3z is then what? 3 times 45. And 3 times 45 gives us a 135. Okay, so we therefore say, therefore, the angles are 135 degrees and are 45 degrees. As simple as that. So basically, this is how we solve questions that involve what? Supplementary and then complementary angles. You should take note that you wouldn't always be asked these questions in word form. Sometimes the questions are drawn. For instance, for these angles I'm giving as a try work, you realize that they are not in word form, but that doesn't change anything. So for this one, let's just represent the unknowns with what? The portions here. With, let's say, let me put A here, then put a B here, and then a C here. So the same applies here as well. So its solution isn't different from what we did previously. If you have to solve for A, then you know the sum of A and then B gives us what? 90 degrees. This here is a 90-degree angle. As you can see, it is a right angle. You see, it's a right angle. And this here is a straight line. And you should know the properties. A right angle's measure is what? 90 degrees. So it simply means if you add this angle to this, you should get 90 degrees. And then you make your A the subject. Same applies over here. This is a straight line. And the sum of angles on a straight line should give us 180. So A plus 35 equals 180. Then you do what? You make A the subject. So this will be your first set of questions, followed by, so for this second set of questions, as you can see, they involve your understanding, they require your understanding of algebra. Two angles are complementary. One is 20 more than the other. You have to find both angles. Okay, then the second one says two angles are supplementary. One is twice the other. You have to find both angles. So this is how far this video is going to take. Now in our next video, we look at vertically opposite angles and then let's say adjacent angles. See you in our next video, and I do hope that this video would be helpful. Stay safe and stay blessed. Bye.